What happened?
Someone set up us the bomb. We get signal.
What?
Main screen turn on.
It's you.
How are you, gentlemen? All your base are belong to us. You are on the way to destruction.
What you say?
You have no chance to survive, mate, your time. Ha ha ha. All your base, all your base, are belong to us. All your base, all your base, are belong to us. All your base, all your base, are belong to us. All your base, all your base, are belong to us. All your base, all your base, are belong to us. All your base,
Hello, everyone. This is Geno Cuddy coming at you at 7:11 a.m. on Sunday, December 29th, 2019. We're coming up on the end of the year and the end of the decade here, and we're closing in rather quick on 2020. I just wanted to talk about a man who really impacted me and really influenced my broadcasting career, and someone who sadly recently passed away, and that person is Don Imus. For those of you who don't know, Don Imus, for over 50 years, hosted the Imus in the Morning radio program that, for some of its run, was actually simulcast on television, be it on C-SPAN, MSNBC, or Fox Business, and it aired on a variety of radio stations, broadcast out of WNBC, WFAN, and finally WABC. And for many, many years, Imus brought, an unabashed look at life and politics, sports, pop culture, everything. He really was a truly unique presence in the world of broadcasting. And I remember when I was growing up, and I was a little kid growing up in New Britain, Connecticut. I would be every morning. Mom would turn on MSNBC, and we would just sit there and watch Imus while we ran our errands and bandied about the house. We would listen to him and listen to the antics of him, Charles McCord, Bernard McGurk, Rob Bartlett. Every now and then his wife Deirdre would come on, and Larry Kenny also doing his various characters. We would hear him, play off of the sportscasters like Warner Wolf, Mike Breen, Chris Carlin, everybody. And he also had, like a wide variety of guests on his show, like now President Donald J. Trump, John McCain, Mike Barnacle, everybody came on the Imus show. Tim Russert from Meet the Press years ago, the now late Tim Russert. Everybody came on Imus's show, from politicians to pop culture icons. They all came on Imus's show. And the thing that I liked about Don Imus, and the thing that I detest about modern day comedy, is the fact that, with Imus, everybody was fair game. Everybody. I mean, I'm going to speak to the whole 2007 Rutgers women basketball team controversy here. Was that probably wrong to say? Yeah, it was. But you want to know something? That was, how the Imus in the Morning program was. I mean, the thing is, I think a lot of people who choose to judge Imus based purely on that are people who didn't, listen to the program on a regular basis. Those people, or I think, are people who, just picked and choose whenever they would watch, and picked and choose whenever they whenever they would listen in or watch or whatever. And if you were a regular viewer or listener of the Imus in the Morning program, you would know that everybody was fair game. Imus took it on the chin fairly regularly. They would make fun of him for his hair. They would make fun of him for, his looks. They would make fun of him for his drug addiction. They would make fun of him for everything. And, when he married Deirdre, they would make fun of that. They would say that, oh, he picked her up on the playground, everybody was fair game on that show. Nobody was off limits. And that's the thing that I detest about a lot of modern day comedy is the fact that, nowadays, the only people who it's okay to make fun of are white guys, Republicans, and Christians. Everybody else is off limits. You can't make fun of anybody else but those three demographics. And I think that's a crying shame because that's an unfair comedic landscape today. Everybody should be fair game, I feel. I miss Imus. I when he retired in 2018, that was the end of an era. I enjoyed every day, waking up with him because that's what it was like. You were waking up with a friend, and one of my favorite Imus quotes was, I think this was like one of the last quotes from his program was, it was great, knowing that I was talking to somebody, and and that the other person on the other end didn't talk back. That was a cool thing about Imus. He was talking to us. He was real with us. He didn't sugarcoat things. He didn't water anything down. No, he was real with us, real with his feelings. And people complained throughout the years that he was a flip flopper on politics and issues. Well, the thing is we are in real life. We're not going to stick by, normal people don't stick by one person 100% of the time. Imus, loved Bill Clinton at one point, and later on, he detested Clinton. He was always going on about how Clinton was a freaking criminal and whatever. Imus at one point liked Donald Trump, and, if you followed him on Twitter, you'd know that Imus would call Donald Trump blubber titties. It's freaking great. Even after he retired, he still, continued with that raw Imus sense of humor on Twitter, which was great, for those who followed him. And, it was just, Imus was the first guy in radio, really, to do stuff like that. There was nobody else like that before. And I'm going to say this, Howard Stern, stole a lot of Imus's act, and a lot of Stern fans, always downplay and dismiss what Imus did for the radio business. Well, Imus did it first, people. Stern came later. Stern, it was like Stern was the student and Imus was the teacher. And so Imus was the first guy to do a lot of this stuff. And in my honest opinion, I think Imus did it better than Stern. I think Stern could be a little too crass, a little too crude sometimes. Imus knew when to tone it down, but still have fun. Imus knew the limitations, and that was good. There was a proper balance there, and that's why everybody came on his show, and Stern usually got, the leftovers, And I always really enjoyed listening to the Imus in the Morning program every day. And helped me with my depression, honestly. Waking up with that show, it would help me, go to school with a good mindset, and I would feel good about, the day ahead. And that was what Imus was there for. And even his books. His book, God's Other Son, that he wrote back in the day was freaking hilarious. It was based on a character that he had done for his radio show, Billy Soul Hargis. And it was Billy Soul Hargis was basically this televangelist who you knew was bullshitting you. And he would always preach and ask for money and everything. And I always was making fun of, the televangelists and the evangelicals at the time who were, targeting, very vulnerable people. And that's what that character was there for. And, you listen to that God's Other Son, you listen to the audiobook version, which I have on cassette, folks, old school Geno. It's a very funny listen. Honestly, I would wake up with Imus and I would go to bed with Imus because I would put there have been many nights where I would put on God's Other Son on my old Radio Shack cassette player, and it would, help put me to sleep too. It would, I would go to bed with a great mindset. It truly helped me, with my depression and everything, listening to all that and hearing Imus and his cohorts and everything. And that was the cool thing about Imus. He had all these weird, wonderful characters, that would appear on his show. Like, he would have Richard Nixon, General George S. Patton, Rush Limbaugh, and these were all, of course, imitators doing these people's voices and everything, and he would have these song parodies. It was a whole circus, on the radio, pretty much, listening to that. And I actually uploaded several shows from the 90s when he was still at WFAN, when they were broadcasting on C-SPAN. And those are just marvelous watches, marvelous listens, because, it's raw, unfiltered Imus. I mean, even when they cut the commercial, you still get, the antics of Imus and his crew. And it's such a great experience. And, I don't mean to use this as an opportunity to plug my YouTube channel, but please go check out those Imus shows on Geno's House of Rare Sitcoms. They're absolutely hilarious listens, and it's great to watch Imus and his crew, have at it. And I'm gonna say, Imus, the whole again, the whole Rutgers, controversy thing, and seeing, what people have said about Imus after his death, it's horrible. It's truly horrible. I mean, I just listened to a wonderful tribute by Imus's right hand man for many, many years, Charles McCord, and Charles was right on the money when he said that. People need to give it a rest. The Rutgers women, accepted Imus's apology. Imus apologized out the yin-yang for those comments. It's time for people to give that a rest. Out of Imus's whole 50-year career, people only choose to pay attention to what? A little 15-second nugget out of the whole career? It's absolutely disgusting. Honestly. Do I condone what Imus said that day? Absolutely not. And I think Imus was right to apologize for it, because he needed to apologize for it. But the thing is he apologized to it, he owned up to it, and he moved on, which is something that we all should do. I think it's disgusting how people have just buried him after his death. Let the dead rest in peace. Gosh. People are so vile and disgusting nowadays. It makes the person that they're talking about look like Mr. Rogers, honestly, by comparison. And Imus in the Morning was a fun show that mixed politics, that mixed sports, that mixed everything together all into one package. Imus in the Morning was the total package of radio programs. It truly was. And it was an honor, to listen to that show every day. And, just even when you watched it on TV, it was great, because you got to see the aesthetic of this aging, grizzled old cowboy, sitting behind the microphone, just spewing all this rhetoric. And it was great, because he looked like a total outsider, whereas everybody else in like Fox News and, the people that he surrounded himself with, like all the politicians and all the Fox News people and everything, they were all these, well dignified, slick back hair, necktie wearing, suit wearing, people, that you would expect to hear on the radio and see on TV. Then you have this other guy, on the total 180, on the total other end of the spectrum, wearing this cowboy hat, he has long blonde hair, he's wearing these denim shirts and denim vests, he's wearing jeans and cowboy boots, and he's coming into that studio, and he's coming in there with authority, and he's sitting behind that microphone, and he's saying whatever the fuck he wants, man, and you know what? Nobody can fucking stop him. And that was the great thing about the Imus in the Morning show, was that he was an unpredictable force for over 50 years in broadcasting, not only in radio, but television as well. And, when he went to the Correspondents' Dinner in the 90s, with President Clinton and First Lady Hillary Clinton at the time, people, were shocked and appalled at him then. And I'm like, dude, when you invite Don Imus to a Correspondents' Dinner, what the hell do you expect? You expect him to be Don Imus. You expect him to be off the cuff, off the wall. And that's what he did. He delivered. I mean, what would you have thought of him, honestly, if he went there and he was a completely 100% dignified, gentleman? What would you have thought? You would have thought that he sold out. And that's the one thing that I loved about Imus was he never sold out. Yeah, after the Rutgers thing, he mellowed, but he never completely sold out. He was still the punchy 100% Don Imus that we've always known and loved. And I'd like to see, some of the celebrities out there in Hollywood today, be that way. I think a lot of today's celebrities have sold out. They have, they have gone the corporate route. And, Imus never really did. He was a counterculture icon. He always, said what was on his mind, and it was like he was an average Joe. We're sitting there, drinking our coffee, and, Imus is, saying, you know what, fuck George Bush and Dick Cheney, they're a bunch of fucking war criminals that should be hung. And, we're sitting there like, yeah, fuck right, Imus. We're sitting there and we're thinking that, And he was the voice of us. He was the voice of the people. And that's what I loved about John Donald Imus was that he was the voice of the American people. He knew what we were thinking. He was a voice for us. And that's what I loved about him, honestly. And even going away from his radio career, he was also a great big philanthropist. I mean, he helped so many children with that ranch of his. It's astronomical the volume of people that John Donald Imus helped over his career and over his life. I mean, Imus knew the effects of cancer, and he knew how devastating that was to children. And that's why he opened up that ranch, because he knew that these kids needed hope. They needed something to look forward to. They needed, someone to look up to. And for many of them, that was Don Imus. He invited them to his private ranch, and, he taught them this, he taught them that, and he truly helped a lot of those kids. And that is so admirable. He helped so many charities, and along with his wife Deirdre, and Don Imus was such an admirable human being. I can't even describe how great he was. And again, I think it's shameful that people, choose to focus on one little nugget in his life when he wasn't at his best. Instead of focusing on all the good that he did, all the positives, all the laughs that he gave people, all the smiles that he provided. I mean, am I going to say Don Imus was a saint? Absolutely not. But you know what? He wasn't this vulgar, terrible monster that a lot of the people out there choose to make him either. I mean, honestly, Imus was a force. That's exactly what he was. He was an unpredictable force of laughter. And that's what I loved about him. So, I don't know. That's my tribute to Don Imus. I know that this ran a little short here, but I just wanted to come on here and just talk a little about Imus. I mean, he's the reason why for those 3 years, and I'm planning on coming back in 2020. He is the reason why I did the Geno in the Evening program, and he's the reason I wear the cowboy hat on my show. I wear that in tribute to him, and everybody else, who does shows at that studio use the lavalier mics. I use the traditional old school mics. I do that in tribute to him as well. You look at the aesthetic of my show, it's a tribute to the magic and the awesomeness that was the Imus in the Morning program. Nobody did it like him before or since. I'd reckon to argue. He was a truly unique individual, and he will be missed, and he is missed. I definitely missed him. I wish he was still with us, making us laugh. I mean, even beyond when he retired last year. He was still making us laugh on Twitter. I would see his tweets every now and then, and I would just laugh uproariously. And I'm like, there's good old Imus, making me laugh yet again. Even if he's not behind the microphone, he's still, finding a way to make us laugh. And if you listen to that last broadcast that he did, I think in March of 2018, it was heartbreaking. It was emotional. And you know what? That was Imus. That was pure Imus. That was genuine Imus. He took the mask off at that point. No character, no pretense. That was pure Imus, the way that all of his friends knew him, the way that all of his his closest friends knew him. His fans knew him. You know, everybody else, you know, the outside world, the outside media always thought of him as this vulgar, racist bigot who, you know, just sat behind a microphone spewing insane rhetoric all day. He was actually a really good guy when you read about his story and you read about, you know, what he has done for this world. And that's why I will always be loyal and always love Don Imus for what he's been able to do for people of all walks of life, not just me. You know, everybody he helped. And not many people, you know, could say that they've touched so many lives, you know, like he has. So yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up, but I miss wherever you are. You know, rest in peace. I love you. I always will love you. You know, I will always defend you. I will always stand by you. It's sad that you're gone. But I will always love you. I'll always, you know, I'll listen to your shows. You know, listen back to your old shows and just enjoy them. You know, like how we did back in the day. And yeah, Don Imus, gone at 79 years old, died on the 27th. Rest in power, rest in peace. You will be missed. You were an icon. You are an icon. And my thoughts, my condolences, my prayers go out to your wife Deirdre, your son Wyatt, your other son Zach, all of your daughters, Rob Bartlett, Bernard McGurk, Charles McCord, Larry Kenny, all those people who you worked with for so many, many years. All the lives that you've touched, my heart goes out to you people right now. And I want to end by saying thank you, Imus. Thank you for the years of entertainment. Thank you for helping us think about the issues. Thank you for being our voice, you know, against all odds. Thank you for being our voice. And thank you for, you know, all the lives that you touched. Thank you. We love you. We always will love you. This ends the money generating portion of this broadcast.